Well, hello and welcome, Louise. It's lovely to be talking to you today. Thank you ever so much for your time. And I'm delighted that you finally agreed to sit down and talk to me about RIMU Reflections and join our RIMU Reflections series. It's very exciting. So thank you for joining us.
Well, you're very kind to invite me, very kind.
So Louise, we're going to find out a little bit more about what you do. You are the GDPR queen in my network for sure. So obviously 2 years ago, GDPR, is it 2 years ago? Yes, it was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Nearly four.
Oh my goodness, gosh, doesn't time fly? So obviously everybody got very focused on GDPR, and quite rightly there was some good things that changed in the market as a result of some new legislation that came into place. And I know a lot of small business owners that were quite concerned as to what they should do and how it should all work. And I know that you were there with a very guiding, steady hand to help those maneuver and navigate the challenges that is GDPR. So please tell us a bit about your business.
Well, thank you. That makes me sound very important. So I help people with their GDPR in a holistic way and in a way that is easy for them to understand and relate to their business. I make sure they're compliant. Often it leads to efficiencies by them changing their processes, and just makes them, I have to say, change their businesses around sometimes. And I've been doing that for about 3 years. So nearly 4 years now, actually. Nearly 4 years.
Oh, wow. Gosh, so what did you do before that? Did you, if you weren't always in GDPR, what else did you do before setting up your business?
I've got a very varied commercial background. I was a commercial manager for many years, many years, in anything from construction to gas and oil to telecoms to manufacturing. So I've always been in a commercial type of role. I've also been a quality manager and an auditor as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting and varied career, to say. But I think that nothing that you do before is a bad thing. It teaches you either to do something that you love it or you hate it, but it also adds to your experience and what we all indeed bring to the party. So
yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I definitely think if I look back on my own experiences, you make choices and you move forward in a way that works for you, don't you? So no, that's right. Brilliant. What do you most enjoy about your job, Louise? What's the best thing that gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think I like working with lots of different people. I'm very lucky that all my clients are indeed great. They understand what I'm trying to do. And if you can provide a solution or you can make something easier for someone, then why shouldn't we do that? That's if I can make it easier or let them concentrate on their core business, or if we just need to alter it slightly, but they can still crack on and I can do the stuff that I do, then that's great. And if you could say providing a solution and just making it easier is what I really like doing. Taking the worry away is what I do.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I can definitely vouch for the fact that you do certainly achieve that in your working life. So that's brilliant. And how about the least favourite thing? Obviously, we've got the reverse question. What's the thing that you think, oh no, how can I do that today?
I think it must be the filthy lucre. I hate invoicing and I hate bookkeeping, so I delegate that because I'm not very good at that. So,
perfect. Yeah, and I think that's one of the learnings, isn't it, as a small business owner, when you get to a certain stage and you're kind of, I think in the beginning you have to do everything for yourself, but actually when you get to a certain point you kind of go, you know what, I don't enjoy that bit, that's not my area of genius, so I'm happy to pass that on to somebody else. I'm with you on the accounts piece as well. It was one of my things I had to, when I very first started out, it was one condition that my business had to be able to support an accountant, so I could just go, here you are, work your magic.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no point doing the stuff that you don't enjoy, but you have to do it. But if you can move it to someone else and support their business, great.
Yeah, I agree completely. So thinking about a little bit more about you, Louise, how would you describe yourself in 5 words?
Thorough, as my clients will vouch, very thorough. I always say, so what's in there then? Show me that. What have you got there? What do I need to see? Considerate. I have to consider what my clients are going to do and what makes them tick, what makes them important. It might be money, it might be time, it might be a worry. You have to work around with those guys. Responsive, got to be quick. You've got to jump on that. I'm cheerful. You've got to be cheerful in what I do. It's our superpower. And maybe a bit quirky.
I'd agree with that. Definitely, definitely. I think your art and your dance that come in, I think, is not necessarily what you would imagine from something that works in GDPR. So yes, I agree.
We have to have a superpower. We have to do something interesting, don't we?
Well, I don't know. GDPR can be interesting, surely.
Of course, of course.
So tell me one thing that we might not know about you. I might have just given a bit of a spoiler alert out there, but what's the one thing that we might not know about you?
I love dance. Dance means everything, and I've been dancing for many, many years now, and it's just brilliant. I think we all need our yin and yang, and that's definitely my yang, maybe.
Yeah. And what kind of dance do you do?
I do Ciroc, which is a matter of salsa, Latin, ballroom, smooth jive, but I did ballet and tap and urban and cheerleading before. So
excellent.
Yeah, I don't often put that on my CV.
Perhaps you should. The dancing GDPR queen. There you go. What's the one thing that you wish you had said to yourself, your younger self, as you were starting out? Is there something that you would have said to yourself at that time as advice as kind of you move through your career? What's the one thing you would have said?
Probably be yourself, because people tend to like it. Be yourself, and we are all here, and I don't know, we are all becoming this person, and that person will change as we add different experience to it. Just be yourself. Be confident in being yourself as well. Enjoy it.
I think that authenticity and the story behind people's businesses is something that certainly as a small business owner you buy into and you connect with and resonate with. So yes, I agree with that. There's definitely there's a lot more focus on that as we're moving forward this year, which is really exciting to see, because people are bringing more of themselves to work. Yeah,
it's lovely. As they come back to the offices, you think, oh, I didn't realize you did that, or stuff. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's good. And what's one tip if there's somebody out there going, you know what, I'm kind of exploring some things work-wise, I might look to move into the GDPR arena. What's the one tip that you would give them?
Get qualified, obviously, but make sure you apply that learning to the actual client that you have. There's no point bamboozling them with words they're not going to understand, but think about things in a practical way. Keep it relevant and simple. They don't need to know the stuff you do. They just need to know how it affects them and what they need to do. They don't need to know all the detail behind it unless they need it, unless they want to. But
I guess that's quite a skill, though, isn't it? To take all of that knowledge and that detail and kind of translate it into, something that perhaps isn't a detailed person, to translate it into language that they can understand. It's a real skill to be able to make that explanation.
Yeah, I think it's knowing your audience as well. There's no point giving them the higher level stuff if all they need to know is, if you cause a breach, this is what needs to happen. They don't need to know the higher level stuff. So, I always look for my audience.
No, that's good advice. Keep the customer at the heart of everything. It's what runs through a lot of marketing. So that's interesting to see. It's the same for yourself. And kind of thinking, I guess, what are the challenges that you see facing small businesses in your world as we move forward this year? And obviously there's some things in the news right now which are dominating, but is there, what are the kind of 2 or 3 things that you think, gosh, that's going to be a real challenge for our industry this year?
I think keep an eye on how the law is going to change with all the repercussions of all the things that are going on right now. Keep an eye on repercussions of what will change with your data, where you store it, how you look after it. The law is going to change as well. You've got standard contractual clauses being agreed at the end of this month, and you've got things like the Children's Code. Things like that might affect the way which you work. So keep an eye on it and how it affects your world as well. I mean, supply is going to change as well. We've noticed with COVID and things are taking longer. People are buying things from the Far East, and maybe they're increasing their scope of supply. So bear in mind that will change too. And obviously, COVID and the current goings on in the world at the moment, that's going to have a repercussion as well. So just trying to work out which one will apply to your business depending on what business you're in. But as I say, definitely the laws will change, and just keeping on top of that. The ICO are very good, I think. they are relevant, and they just try to make, I think that they do try to make the best of what companies are trying to interpret the law is. So I think that it's generally, if you're keeping up to date, if you're making it relevant for your world and taking note of their advice too, I think it's a great idea. So keep an eye on that, definitely.
That's interesting to hear that new legislation is coming in, because I know when GDPR was first talked about, there was rumblings that it was just the first of many new legislation and new policies that were coming in. But obviously then Brexit took over and COVID took over, and things have actually then gone very quiet on that perspective, haven't they? But it's good it's interesting to hear that's sort of still been bubbling away in the background.
Oh,
but, you know,
absolutely.
maybe not hit headlines, I guess, in the way that it has done in the past. And I think, you know, from talking to you and from the work that we've done, the kind of the logic behind a lot of the data protection legislations and things that are in place are actually very sensible. They're actually really logical. It's just about being respectful for people's information, isn't it? So it's good that that's kind of going one step further, and with, you know, cases in the news around Facebook or Meta, as they're now known, you know, how they use data and cookies and Google and all some of those big boys. It's really interesting to hear that actually there is some legislation to protect the consumer, which is coming into force to help with that.
Oh, absolutely. It's, I mean, GDPR is based on politeness and common sense, as I think, and it's there's lots of things changing, but it's a lot of it, I feel it's the good. I think it's a bit of an honour to have someone's data, so we need to protect it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was brilliant, Louise. Thank you ever so much for your time this morning. If anybody wanted to get hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that? What's your web address?
My web address is www.trustedcompliancesolutions.co.uk, and you can find me on LinkedIn. So just find me there, and I can obviously respond to any messages from there. Excellent. So if anyone listening is anxious to really get under the skin of GDPR and sort out various bits and pieces, then that's the best way to get in touch. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, or this morning, not quite this afternoon. It's been lovely to talk to you, Louise. Thank you very much, and hopefully talk to you soon. Thank you.